could you, Sky, give us a greeting to Greenlanders in their native language? Welcome to the show, entire retreat, and so on. And then talk about the country itself, and then we're gonna go forth from there and travel on top of the different bases and talk about Greenland, its history, and its significance in the geopolitical situation in the world right now.
Aloo, and welcome to Entired Retreat. Today we're exploring the stunning landscapes and rich history of Greenland. We'll be flying over key locations, discussing Greenland's history and its geopolitical significance. Join us as we embark on this journey.
Yeah, thank you. So first and foremost, as Sky said, Aloo, it seems. Is that kind of welcome, I guess?
Yes, Aloo is a friendly greeting in Greenlandic, similar to saying hello or welcome.
Alright, indeed. So Aloo to everybody. Not only Greenlanders, but everybody who enjoys the content.
The Sakak culture, about 2500 to 800 BCE, was Greenland's earliest known civilization, mostly settled in the south and west. They were nomadic hunter-gatherers relying on seals, seabirds, and reindeer. Their tools were made of stone, including silicified slate, agate, and rock crystals. They likely used kayaks for hunting, but didn't leave behind signs of large, permanent settlements. The Dorset culture, 500 BCE, 1500 CE, came much later and had a stronger Arctic adaptation. They were more dependent on sea ice for hunting, focusing heavily on marine mammals like walruses and large seals. Unlike the Sakak, the Dorset made heavy use of soapstone, crafting oil lamps, gleek, and even figurines. Their tools included distinct triangular blades and barons for carving. A big difference was in transportation. While the Sakak likely relied on small boats, the Dorset are the first in Greenland's history to show evidence of dog sleds. Their culture also left behind more art and carvings, suggesting spiritual or symbolic traditions. The Dorset people disappeared around 1500 CE, possibly due to climate change and the arrival of the Thule culture, the ancestors of modern Inuit.
Yeah, I think that's a natural continuum then to go forth to the possible next culture. I have written down that there's also quite a few of significant events happening here in Greenland before we go to that maybe, but yeah, 800 BCE Dorset culture, you covered that. But then 985 CE, Erik the Red's settlement, according to my limited knowledge, and he establishing the eastern settlement near Kassiarsuk, if I pronounce that remotely even in the right way.
You're spot on with the timeline. Erik the Red, Old Norse, Eirikur Røde, is one of the most famous figures in Greenland's history, and his story is full of adventure, exile, and new beginnings. Erik the Red's early life in exile, 950s to 982 CE. Erik was born around 950 CE in Norway, but his father, Thorvald Osvaldsson, was exiled for manslaughter. The family relocated to Iceland, which was already becoming a popular settlement for Norse explorers. However, Erik didn't inherit a peaceful life. He was also banished from Iceland around 982 CE due to a series of violent disputes and killings. Icelandic sagas say he killed 2 men over a feud and was sentenced to 3 years of exile. Instead of heading to another Norse settlement, Erik did something bold. He sailed west into the unknown, discovering Greenland 982 to 985 CE. During his exile, Erik and his crew reached Greenland, becoming the first known Europeans to explore the island's southwestern coast. He spent his 3 years of exile sailing along Greenland's fjords, mapping the land and searching for places suitable for settlement. He eventually returned to Iceland with grand stories of a green, fertile land, though it's believed he exaggerated the green part to make it sound appealing.
Okay.
The Eastern Settlement, 985 CE. Erik the Red returned to Greenland in 985 CE, this time with a fleet of 25 ships carrying about 500 settlers, men, women, livestock, and supplies. Only 14 ships made it across due to storms and rough seas, but those that did reached Kassiarsuk, a lush fjord area that Erik named Brattaliv, meaning steep slope in Old Norse. This became the heart of the Eastern Settlement, Greenland's first Norse colony. The settlement thrived with farms, churches, and trade routes. Norse settlers raised cattle, sheep, and goats, grew barley, and hunted seals and walruses for meat and valuable ivory. They built traditional longhouses with turf roofs, and Erik himself established a grand estate at Brattahlid. Norse expansion and the Western settlement. Over time, a second colony called the Western Settlement near modern-day Nuuk was established. At its peak, there were likely around 3,000 Norse settlers in Greenland, and they maintained trade with Iceland and Norway, exchanging walrus ivory, furs, and skins for iron, wood, and grains. Erik the Red's family and the Vinland expeditions. Erik's son, Leif Erikson, grew up in Greenland and later became the first European to reach North America, landing in what is now Newfoundland, Canada, around 1000 CE. Leif is believed to have brought Christianity to Greenland, building Greenland's first church near Brattahlid. Erik the Red's final years, 1003 CE, Erik himself never made the journey to North America. According to the sagas, he was supposed to go on Leif's expedition but fell from his horse, taking it as a bad omen and staying behind.
Oh, really?
He likely died around
Bad
1003
omen, yeah.
CE, with his farm continuing as a central hub of Norse Greenland. Legacy of the Eastern Settlement. For about 400 years, the Eastern Settlement remained the center of Norse Greenland. However, by the 1400s, the colony mysteriously disappeared, likely due to climate isolation, conflicts with the Inuit, or economic struggles. Kasiarsak Brattle today is a UNESCO-listed archaeological site with reconstructions of Erik's farm showing how the Norse once lived in Greenland. So Erik the Red's legacy is massive. He wasn't just an explorer. He founded the first European colony in the Americas and set the stage for Norse expansion across the North Atlantic. In the 1400s, Norse Greenland faced challenges like climate change and resource scarcity, leading to their decline. Archaeological sites such as Valsey Church near Qaqortoq show well-preserved Norse ruins. Visual description of key archaeological sites in Greenland, 1400s to 1721. Valsey Church, the best-preserved Norse ruin in Greenland. Valsey Church stands on a grassy, rolling hillside, its thick stone walls weathered but remarkably intact. Built from massive granite blocks, the structure is rectangular, with high, narrow windows that would have once let in dim Arctic light. The entrance is a simple arch, with sections of the original mortar still visible in crevices. Surrounding the church are low ruins of farm buildings, their walls collapsed, but their foundations still forming clear outlines of homes, storage buildings, and animal pens. The fjord nearby shimmers in the distance, and the entire site is backed by steep, rocky cliffs, giving a sense of isolation. Kujata region, UNESCO site, Norse and Inuit settlements mixed together. This site is a vast landscape of rolling meadows, scattered ruins, and deep fjords. The Norse ruins appear as low stone walls, barely a meter high, outlining former longhouses and barns. Some have sections of turf still clinging to the tops, hinting at how they were once insulated for warmth. Among them, Inuit winter houses, rounded, semi-subterranean dwellings made of stone and sod, dot the coastline, their entrances facing away from harsh Arctic winds. The contrast between the rectangular Norse buildings and the rounded Inuit homes is striking, showing how different cultures adapted to the same land. Tashrai Sandnes, Norse Western settlement ruins. The site of Sandnes, a major Norse farmstead, is a remote, windswept plain with low stone foundations barely peeking out from the grass. In summer, wildflowers bloom between the ruins, creating a stark contrast to the desolation of winter. Excavations revealed iron tools, carved walrus ivory, and household pottery, all faded by centuries of exposure. A collapsed smithy, blacksmith's workshop, still has charcoal stains on the stones, evidence of long-forgotten metalwork. Chilakitsuk, the 500-year-old Inuit mummies, a frozen time capsule. Unlike the Norse sites, Chilakitsuk is an Inuit burial site, dramatically preserved by the Arctic cold. The graves found in a rocky crevice contained 8 perfectly mummified bodies dating back to around 1475 CE. The mummies, wrapped tightly in fur clothing, still have intact facial features, skin, and hair, giving an eerie but fascinating look into Inuit life. The site itself is rugged and barren, the surrounding rock faces cutting into the landscape like frozen waves. Alongside the mummies, archaeologists found delicate beads, skin boots, and carved amulets, suggesting spiritual practices tied to the burial. Hans Egge was a Norwegian Lutheran missionary who embarked on a significant journey to Greenland in 1721. Born on January 31st, 1686, in the northern Norwegian island of Hinnøya, Egede was raised in a family of civil servants. His early life in the Arctic Circle exposed him to the harsh realities of the region, shaping his resilience and determination. In 1704, Egede graduated in theology from the University of Copenhagen, completing his studies in just 1.5 years. 2 years later, he married Gertrude Rask, and in 1707, he became a priest in the Norwegian town of Vågen. Despite his established career, Egede felt a calling to re-establish contact with the Norse colonies in Greenland, which had been lost for about 300 years. In 1711, Egede petitioned King Frederick IV of Denmark for funding to travel to Greenland and re-establish contact with the Norse settlers there. The king granted him permission, and in 1721, Egede set sail with his wife and 4 children aboard the ship Hobbit. They arrived in Greenland, aiming to find the Norse colonies and spread the Reformation among the inhabitants, who were presumed to still be Catholic or to have reverted to paganism. Upon arrival, Egede found no survivors of the old Norse colonies. Instead, he encountered the Inuit Greenlanders and began baptizing them. He established a mission among the Inuit, marking the beginning of Danish-Norwegian interest in Greenland after a long period of isolation. Egede's mission faced numerous challenges, including harsh Arctic conditions, scurvy, and attacks by Dutch whalers. Despite these hardships, he founded the settlement of Godthåb, now Nuuk, in 1728, which became the capital of Greenland. His efforts laid the foundation for the Danish-Norwegian colonial presence in Greenland, leading to the establishment of trading colonies along the coast and the imposition of a trade monopoly on the area. Egede's legacy is complex. While he is credited with revitalizing interest in Greenland and establishing a mission among the Inuit, his actions also marked the beginning of Danish colonialism in the region. His mission introduced new diseases to the Inuit population, leading to significant mortality. Additionally, the establishment of the trade monopoly restricted the Inuits' traditional trade networks and imposed new economic structures. In summary, Hans Egede's mission to Greenland in 1721 was a pivotal event in the island's history. It reconnected Greenland with Europe, initiated the spread of Christianity among the Inuit, and laid the groundwork for Danish colonial rule.
Thank you. That was a good answer, the last one you gave me. Now do the same with 1776 Danish trade monopolization.
Background. In the early 18th century, Greenland's trade was primarily managed by private companies, each holding monopolies over specific regions. The most notable among these was the General Trade Company, Det Almindelige Handelskompagni, founded in 1747. This company was granted exclusive rights to trade in Greenland, aiming to centralize and regulate commerce. However, its operations faced challenges, including competition from foreign traders and internal inefficiencies. Key individuals: Jacob Severin, 1691 to 1753, a Danish merchant who held a trade monopoly on Greenland from 1733 to 1749. Severin was instrumental in consolidating Danish trade interests in Greenland, laying the groundwork for future monopolies. Heinrich Karl von Schimmelmann, 1724 to 1782, a prominent Danish statesman and financier who played a significant role in the economic policies of the time. As the director of the Danish Treasury from 1773, Schimmelmann was influential in the financial decisions that led to the establishment of the Royal Greenland Trading Department. Establishment of the Royal Greenland Trading Department. In 1774, the General Trade Company was dissolved, and the Royal Greenland Trading Department, Kongelig Grønlandske Handel, KGH, was established under direct state control. This move aimed to strengthen Denmark's economic interests in Greenland and to exert greater control over the region's resources. Impact on the Inuit population. Establishment of the KGH had profound effects on the Indigenous Inuit communities. Trade monopoly. The KGH enforced a strict monopoly on trade, limiting the Inuits' ability to engage in commerce with foreign traders. This policy restricted their access to goods and services, altering traditional trade networks. Economic changes. The introduction of European goods and currency systems disrupted the Inuits' traditional subsistence economy. The focus shifted towards the production of commodities like whale oil and seal pelts for export, leading to changes in hunting practices and social structures. Cultural impacts. The KGH's policies also influenced cultural aspects as the Inuit were introduced to European goods and customs. This interaction led to both positive and negative outcomes, including the adoption of new technologies and the erosion of traditional practices. In 1814, the Treaty of Kiel marked a pivotal moment in Scandinavian history, leading to significant changes in the governance of Greenland. Prior to this treaty, Denmark and Norway were united under a single monarch, sharing territories and resources. However, the Napoleonic Wars had strained this union, prompting Denmark to seek a separate peace with the Allied powers. This decision led to the Treaty of Kiel, signed on January 14, 1814, which had profound implications for the future of Greenland. Key individuals and events. King Frederick VI of Denmark and Norway. As the reigning monarch, Frederick VI faced the challenges of navigating the kingdom through the tumultuous Napoleonic Wars. His decision to enter into the Treaty of Kiel was influenced by the desire to preserve Danish sovereignty over its territories, including Greenland. Charles XIII of Sweden. Following the treaty, Charles XIII became the King of Norway, entering into a personal union with Sweden. This union altered the political landscape of Scandinavia, affecting the governance of Norwegian territories. Impact on Greenland. The Treaty of Kiel had specific provisions regarding Greenland. Retention of Greenland by Denmark. While Norway was ceded to Sweden, Greenland, along with Iceland and the Faroe Islands, remained under Danish control. This decision ensured that Greenland continued to be governed by Denmark, maintaining its colonial status. The Danish government took steps to reinforce its authority over Greenland, including the appointment of new officials and the implementation of policies to strengthen colonial governance. Practical day-in-life perspective. For the Indigenous Inuit population of Greenland, the Treaty of Kiel had several practical implications. Continued Danish authority. The retention of Greenland under Danish control meant that the Inuit continued to experience Danish colonial policies. This included the enforcement of trade monopolies, restrictions on foreign interactions, and the introduction of European customs and governance structures. Economic impact. The Danish colonial system maintained its focus on resource extraction, particularly hunting and fishing. The Inuit were integral to these industries, often working under the direction of Danish authorities or traders. This system influenced their traditional subsistence practices and social structures. Cultural interactions. The ongoing Danish presence facilitated continued cultural exchanges, leading to the introduction of European goods, education, and religious practices. While some Inuit communities adapted to these changes, others resisted, leading to a complex interplay between traditional Inuit culture and Danish colonial influences. Conclusion. The Treaty of Kiel in 1814 was a significant event that reshaped the political landscape of Scandinavia and had lasting effects on Greenland. By retaining Greenland under Danish control, the treaty ensured the continuation of Danish colonial policies, which profoundly impacted the indigenous Inuit population. The subsequent years saw the reinforcement of Danish authority, economic exploitation, and cultural interactions that would continue to shape Greenland's history.